The click of steel handcuffs echoed through a candlelit Boston dining room. Officer Thomas Higgins smirked, certain he was dragging another criminal off the streets. He never looked twice at the man's tailored suit, his calm eyes, his quiet dignity. But Higgins had no idea who he had just humiliated. The man in handcuffs was the executive assistant director of the FBI, and by midnight, Higgins's entire police precinct would be surrounded. The Wellington Steakhouse sat in the heart of downtown Boston, the kind of place where reservations were booked 6 months out, and the host knew every guest's net worth before they crossed the threshold. The air smelled of aged mahogany, truffle butter, and quiet old money. In a secluded corner booth, Arthur Pendleton swirled a glass of 20-year-old Cabernet. At 52, he was tall, broad-shouldered, and carried himself with a calm that commanded respect without ever demanding it. Tonight he had traded his stiff federal uniform for a charcoal-tailored suit, no tie, simply a husband enjoying a rare quiet evening. Across from him sat Sarah, his wife of 25 years, elegant in a deep sapphire dress. They were celebrating their anniversary, and something more. Just 2 days earlier, Arthur had been confirmed as Executive Assistant Director of the FBI's National Security Branch, one of the highest-ranking federal officers in the country. He briefed the president on Tuesday mornings. But tonight, he was simply a husband. To 25 years, Arthur said, raising his glass, and to fewer late-night calls from Washington. Sarah smiled, her eyes warm. A few tables away, the mood was far less gentle. Gregory Fisk, a wealthy real estate developer with a short temper and a long memory for grudges, was furious. His usual booth, the one Arthur now occupied, had been given away. To Fisk, a black man sitting in his favorite seat was an insult he could not swallow. He did not see a devoted husband celebrating 25 years of marriage. He saw a problem to correct. Instead of accepting another table, Fisk stormed toward the valet stand, searching for a familiar face, one who would happily do his dirty work. Officer Thomas Higgins was leaning against his squad car outside the restaurant, sipping lukewarm coffee. 15 years on the force had left him bitter, his career stalled by a mile-long disciplinary file. He was known across the district for heavy-handed tactics, casual cruelty, and a racism he barely bothered to hide behind his badge. On the side, he moonlighted as private muscle for wealthy men like Fisk, trading his uniform for generous cash tips. "Tommy," Fisk barked, marching up to the cruiser. "There's a situation inside. Some guy's in my booth, refusing to move. Management's too spineless to throw him out." Higgins straightened, sensing an easy payday. "A disturbance. Who is it?" "Some guy who clearly doesn't belong in a place like this," Fisk sneered. "Needs to be taught a lesson about where he belongs." Higgins grinned, adjusting his duty belt. "Say less, Gregory. I'll have a little chat with him." He strode through the restaurant's ornate doors, his boots thudding against imported marble, shattering the room's quiet elegance. He bypassed the host's stand entirely and followed Fisk's pointing finger toward the corner booth, where Arthur and Sarah were quietly sharing dessert. Arthur saw the uniform coming before Higgins even reached the table. Years of fieldwork had trained him to read a man's posture, and this one was walking in looking for a fight. "Can I help you, officer?" Arthur asked, his voice level, polite, unshaken. Higgins stopped at the edge of the table, arms crossed, chest puffed out. His eyes crawled over Arthur's expensive suit with open contempt. "I'm getting reports of a disturbance at this table," he said loudly, making sure nearby diners could hear. "Management says you need to leave." Sarah set down her fork. "There must be some mistake, officer. We've been here quietly for 2 hours. We're finishing our anniversary dinner." Higgins barely glanced at her. "I wasn't asking you, lady. Stand up, buddy. We're taking a walk outside." Arthur did not stand. "Officer, I assure you we've caused no disturbance. We are paying customers. If you need to verify this with the manager, I suggest you do so. Don't tell me how to do my job, boy." Higgins snapped, the slur slipping out with practiced ease. The word dropped the temperature of the entire table. Sarah gasped softly, her hand reaching for her husband's arm. Arthur's eyes hardened, but he did not raise his voice. He was not a man who reacted on emotion. He was a tactician, and he had spent the last 5 years leading federal investigations into precincts exactly like this one. "I need to see identification," Higgins demanded, resting his hand on his sidearm. "Now, before I pull you out of that booth myself." "Arthur," Sarah whispered. "It's fine," Arthur said softly. He looked at Higgins. "My wallet is in my breast pocket. I'm reaching for it slowly." He drew out his license and placed it on the table. He did not show his gold FBI credential. He wanted to see exactly how far this officer would take an unlawful stop. If Higgins would do this to a man in a tailored suit at a 5-star restaurant, Arthur could only imagine what he did to young men in the poorer corners of the city. Higgins snatched the license. "Arthur Pendleton. Where's a guy like you get the money to eat here, Artie? Running numbers? Scamming cards?" "I work for the federal government," Arthur said evenly. "I strongly advise you to step back and call your watch commander." Higgins laughed loudly. "Federal government? What, you deliver the mail? Stand up, hands behind your back, or things get ugly fast." Arthur wiped his mouth, set down his napkin, and rose to his full 6'2", towering 3 inches over Higgins. "I am standing up," Arthur said, his voice dropping to an icy register, "but I will not put my hands behind my back. I have committed no crime." Resisting arrest, Higgins barked and lunged. He grabbed Arthur by the shoulder, spun him around, and slammed him against the edge of the table, rattling the crystal glasses. The dining room gasped. The host froze in horror. Sarah stood. "Officer, you have no idea what you are doing. Stop this immediately." "Shut up, lady, or I'll take you in too," Higgins yelled, wrenching Arthur's arms behind his back. Arthur did not resist. He let the cuffs bite into his wrists, listening to every click, memorizing every second of what would become an unlawful arrest. "You're making a catastrophic mistake, Officer Higgins," Arthur said quietly, reading the name on the man's chest. "A career-ending one." "Save it for the judge," Higgins sneered, shoving him forward. He paraded Arthur through the middle of the restaurant, savoring the power, oblivious that he was marching toward his own destruction. Outside, the autumn air was sharp as Higgins shoved him into the back of the squad car. Arthur's knees struck the plastic partition, but he remained silent, taking a slow breath to center himself. Higgins climbed behind the wheel, whistling. He keyed his radio. "Dispatch, this is 9 Adam Farr. Bringing in a suspect, disorderly conduct, trespassing, resisting arrest." As the cruiser pulled away, Higgins glanced at Arthur in the mirror. "You see, Artie, this is what happens when people like you forget their place. This is my city, and I know a fraud when I see one." Arthur remained still, hands bound behind him. "You failed to read me my rights, Officer Higgins. You failed to articulate reasonable suspicion, let alone probable cause. You are currently committing unlawful detention and a textbook violation of federal civil rights." Higgins slapped the wheel, laughing. "Listen to this. A regular legal scholar back there. Watch an episode of Law and Order before you went out to scam people?" Arthur said nothing more. He didn't need to. He was cataloging every structural failure of this precinct, the same precinct the FBI had quietly investigated for over a year, watching whispers of extortion and abuse pile up behind a wall no subpoena could break. Officer Thomas Higgins had just handed him the sledgehammer. 10 minutes later, the cruiser pulled into the fortified rear garage of the 9th Precinct, dark brick, the smell of bleach and old sweat. Higgins hauled Arthur out by the chain of his cuffs, dragging him toward the heavy metal doors and into whatever came next. The booking room was loud and chaotic, officers filling out paperwork, holding cells packed with weekend arrests. Behind the elevated front desk sat Sergeant Miller, an older, heavy-set man counting the minutes until retirement. "What do we got, Tommy?" Miller asked, barely glancing up. "Live one tonight, Sarge," Higgins bragged, shoving Arthur into the metal counter. "Causing a scene at the Wellington. Kept rambling about working for the federal government, probably running some kind of fraud." Miller sighed, sliding over an empty plastic bin. "Empty your pockets. Wallet, keys, phone, watch. His hands are cuffed, Sarge." Higgins laughed. "I'll get it for him." He patted Arthur down roughly, pulling the slim leather wallet from his breast pocket and dropping it into the bin, then unclasping the expensive watch from Arthur's wrist with obvious greed. "Take the cuffs off, Tommy," Miller muttered. He's not going anywhere." Higgins reluctantly removed them. Arthur rubbed his wrists and looked at the sergeant, his eyes cold and steady. "I am formally requesting my phone to call my legal counsel," he said, his voice carrying over the noise, "and I strongly suggest you look inside that wallet before you process my fingerprints." Higgins rolled his eyes. "Sarge, don't listen to him. He's been yapping since I picked him up." Miller, tired and annoyed, grabbed the wallet to pull the ID for the booking forms. He flipped it open. There, gleaming under fluorescent light, was a heavy gold shield. Beside it, a laminated federal identification card bearing the seal of the Department of Justice. Miller's blood ran cold. He read the title beneath Arthur's name: Executive Assistant Director, Federal Bureau of Investigation, National Security Branch. The room seemed to fade around him. This wasn't just a federal agent. He was the federal agent, a man with clearance higher than the governor's, a man who could dismantle their entire department with a single phone call. "Tommy," Miller whispered, his voice cracking. "What did you do?" Higgins, scrolling his phone, didn't look up. "What?" "Guy's a fake, Sarge. Probably bought that on Amazon. Process him." "He didn't buy this on Amazon, you idiot." Miller choked out, sweat rolling down his forehead. "This has DOJ micro-holograms, it's real." He looked up at Arthur. "Sir, Director Pendleton, there's been a massive misunderstanding." Arthur said nothing. He reached into the bin and picked up his phone. "My call, Sergeant." Higgins finally looked up, confused by the terror on his sergeant's face. "What are you doing?" "Put the phone down." "Stand down," Miller screamed. "Do not touch him." Arthur dialed a secure number. It rang twice. "Yes," a sharp voice answered. "Eleanor, it's Arthur." Deputy Director Eleanor Wright paused. She knew he was at his anniversary dinner. A call at this hour meant only one thing. "Arthur, are you safe?" "I am currently standing in the booking room of the 9th Precinct," Arthur replied evenly. "I have been unlawfully detained, assaulted, and arrested under false pretenses by Officer Thomas Higgins, badge number 74229. Silence held for exactly 3 seconds. When Eleanor spoke again, her voice was ice. "Understood, Director. Your orders?" Arthur looked at Higgins, whose smirk was finally beginning to crack. "Fortanize Operation House Cleaning. Assemble the hostage rescue team and the anti-corruption task force. Lock this precinct down. Nobody in, nobody out. By midnight. Eleanor, 20 minutes, sir." Arthur hung up and placed the phone gently back in the bin. "Gentlemen," he said, adjusting his jacket, "the FBI is taking over this precinct. I suggest you call your captain." The clock on the wall read 11:12. What had been a chaotic weekend booking room fell into terrified silence. Miller locked the front doors and hung a hasty maintenance sign, then sat behind the counter, hyperventilating into a paper bag. Higgins stood frozen near the holding cells, his face pale. He had tried to slip out the back 10 minutes earlier, mumbling about a union representative, only for Arthur to warn him that leaving a secured federal crime scene would trigger a fugitive warrant. Arthur remained exactly where he was. He had retrieved his watch and put it back on his wrist. He was no longer the victim of a racist stop. He was the apex predator in a room full of trapped prey. At 11:25, the garage doors burst open, and Captain Richard Gallagher stormed in, a trench coat thrown over his pajamas. "What the hell is going on, Miller? Why is the door locked? Who is this guy?" Before anyone could answer, a low thumping began to shake the reinforced windows. It grew into a deafening roar as a mechanized voice broke through every radio channel. "This is a federally restricted airspace. All local units are ordered to stand down." Gallagher rushed to the window and threw open the blinds. The street outside had been shut down entirely. A convoy of a dozen black Suburbans formed a barricade across the intersection. 2 armored vehicles blocked the alleyways. From above, a helicopter's searchlight cut through the darkness, pinning the precinct in a circle of blinding light. Dozens of tactical operators poured out, moving with silent precision to establish a perimeter. "Mother of God," Gallagher whispered, stumbling backward. The front doors were breached. Federal agents swarmed the lobby. Local officers reached instinctively for their sidearms, but a booming voice cut through the tension. "Hands away from your weapons, now." The local cops slowly raised their hands, eyes wide with shock. Through the sea of tactical vests walked Deputy Director Eleanor Wright, steel-gray hair, eyes that missed nothing. She walked straight to Arthur and handed him a secure tablet. Director Pendleton, perimeter secure. Warrants for the entire precinct signed by Federal Judge Thomas O'Neill. The Department of Justice Civil Rights Division is monitoring live. Thank you, Eleanor. Arthur turned to face Gallagher, who was now trembling. Captain Gallagher, I am Executive Assistant Director Arthur Pendleton. As of 11:59, this precinct is under federal occupation. You are relieved of your command. Director, there has to be a mistake, Gallagher stammered. Whatever Tommy did, it's on him. We can sort this out internally. Arthur let out a low, humorless laugh. Internal affairs. Captain, your precinct has 27 outstanding complaints for excessive force, racial profiling, and extortion. Your union has blocked every state inquiry. When your officer illegally detains, assaults, and arrests a federal director because of the color of his skin, you don't get internal affairs. You get the full, unmitigated weight of the United States government. He turned to Higgins, who was pressed against the holding cell bars, looking ready to faint. Officer Higgins, step forward. Higgins couldn't move. His legs had given out. Two operators grabbed him by the shoulders and dragged him to the center of the room. I didn't know, Higgins stammered, tears filling his eyes. The bully who had strutted through the Wellington was gone, replaced by a sniveling coward. I swear I thought you were a fraud. Gregory Fisk told me you were trouble. I was just doing my job. Your job, Arthur repeated coldly, is to uphold the Constitution, not act as a privately funded attack dog for wealthy racists. He tapped the tablet. Eleanor, pull every server in this building, every email, every text, every body cam file from the last 5 years. Lock the evidence room. Nobody touches a single file. Higgins's eyes went wide with panic. Wait, you can't just take our servers. Arthur stepped closer, invading difference glaring. I can, and I have, because I know exactly what you were trying to do 5 minutes before my team arrived. You didn't think I noticed you slipping toward the IT closet, did you? You were going to wipe your body cam footage. That's obstruction of justice, Officer Higgins. Another 20 years, on top of everything else. Over the next hour, the precinct was systematically taken apart. Federal agents bagged hard drives, seized filing cabinets, and separated the officers into different rooms for questioning. The hubris of the 9th Precinct had been built on decades of local immunity, on a union that silenced complaints and a captain who looked the other way for a cut of the money. But against the full, patient weight of the federal government, that immunity folded like wet cardboard. Arthur claimed Captain Gallagher's spacious corner office as his own, settling behind the heavy oak desk while Eleanor stood rigidly by the door. In the center of the room, stripped of his badge and his gun, both sealed now in an evidence bag, sat Thomas Higgins in an uncomfortable metal chair. Let's talk about Gregory Fisk, Arthur said smoothly, steepling his fingers. I don't know anything, Higgins lied, a reflex built from years of union coaching. He's just a citizen who reported a disturbance. Do not insult my intelligence, Thomas, Arthur warned. We are already inside your phone. We have your bank records. We know about the shell company registered in Delaware under your wife's maiden name. We know about the $5,000 deposited every month by Fisk Holdings. You are an unregistered, illegal private enforcer running an extortion racket under the color of law. Higgins slumped in the chair, the last of his resistance draining away. If I talk, if I tell you everything, what kind of deal can I get? You don't get a deal, Arthur said flatly. You get to choose between federal prison with a standard security detail or general population, where half the inmates are people you falsely arrested. Your cooperation decides your survival, not your freedom. Before Higgins could answer, the desk phone in Gallagher's office began to ring. It was a private line, one that bypassed the precinct's main switchboard. Arthur glanced at the caller ID glowing on the screen. G. Fisk. A cold smile touched the corners of his mouth. Eleanor, start a trace on this line. Begin recording. Recording active, sir. Arthur hit the speakerphone button. Captain Gallagher's office. Bill, where the hell is Tommy? A slurred, arrogant voice barked through the speaker. Gregory Fisk had clearly spent the last 2 hours drinking heavily at the Wellington. I told him to handle some trash at the restaurant, and he's not answering his cell. Tell me he threw that arrogant suit in a cell for the weekend. Higgins squeezed his eyes shut, realizing his wealthy benefactor was now talking directly to the FBI director. Arthur leaned toward the microphone. Mr. Fisk, this is Executive Assistant Director Arthur Pendleton of the FBI. I am the arrogant suit you're referring to. A long, stunned silence followed. The clinking of ice in a glass abruptly stopped. Who is this? Is this a joke? I assure you, Gregory, no one is laughing, Arthur said evenly. You are speaking on a recorded federal line. In the last 60 seconds, you have admitted to directing a sworn officer to conduct a false arrest and violate the civil rights of a federal agent. I also have financial records detailing your bribery of Officer Higgins. You can't do this, Fisk shouted, panic rising in his voice. I know the mayor. I retain lawyers at one of the top firms in this city. I'll have your badge. Call whoever you like, Arthur said, checking his watch. But I would do it quickly. My agents are currently pulling up to your estate in Chestnut Hill. You have approximately 40 seconds to put your drink down and step outside with your hands empty. If you force the hostage rescue team to breach your doors, they will not be gentle with your imported mahogany. You're bluffing, Fisk stammered. Look out your front window, Gregory. Through the speaker, Arthur and Eleanor could hear tires crunching on gravel outside Fisk's mansion, then a distant voice through a bullhorn. FBI, warrants, open the door. The line went dead as Fisk dropped his phone. 10 miles from the fluorescent confines of the 9th Precinct, the neighborhood of Chestnut Hill was dead silent, its estates hidden behind wrought iron gates and manicured oaks. Fisk's mansion, a towering monument of imported limestone, was the crown jewel of the street. Inside his study, surrounded by mahogany bookshelves, Fisk was hyperventilating, a shattered crystal tumbler of Scotch bleeding amber across a priceless rug. He stumbled to the bay window and pulled back the curtain. His circular driveway, usually reserved for imported sports cars, was overrun. 3 armored vehicles had driven straight through his security gates. A dozen agents in tactical gear had established a perimeter, laser sights cutting through the misty night air. This is insane, Fisk muttered, hands trembling. I own half this city. He lunged for his desk phone, dialing his defense attorney. It rang 3 times before dropping to voicemail. At midnight on a Saturday, even the most expensive lawyers were asleep. Before Fisk could form a second plan, his front doors exploded inward with a deafening crash. Boots swarmed the marble foyer. FBI, show your hands. Clear the left, clear the right. Fisk froze, his arrogance evaporating into raw terror. He raised his hands and stepped into the hallway in his silk smoking jacket and leather loafers, looking every bit the untouchable aristocrat, until a laser sight painted itself onto the center of his chest. Gregory Fisk, shouted Special Agent David Caldwell, the team leader. Do not move. Get on your knees. Interlace your fingers behind your head. You don't understand, Fisk shrieked, sinking to the cold marble. I have the mayor on speed dial. I am a major political donor. You have no right to be in my home. Caldwell holstered his weapon and wrenched Fisk's arms behind his back. The cuffs locked around his wrists. We have a federal warrant signed by a United States district judge. You are under arrest for bribery of a public official, conspiracy to commit civil rights violations, and racketeering. Your donations don't mean a damn thing tonight. As agents hauled him to his feet, Fisk watched them swarm his staircase, bagging laptops, prying open safes, boxing his financial ledgers. The fortress of wealth he had built to protect himself from consequence was being dismantled in front of his eyes. Back at the 9th Precinct, Arthur was engaged in a dismantling of his own. Captain Gallagher sat defeated across his own desk, his face pale and lined with sweat, while Eleanor watched from the corner with her arms crossed. Let's drop the pretenses, Captain, Arthur said, sliding a thick dossier across the desk, stamped with the seal of the Department of Justice. We've been monitoring this precinct for 14 months. Officer Higgins was just the symptom. You are the disease. Gallagher refused to touch the file. Director Pendleton, whatever Tommy did tonight, he acted alone. He's a rogue officer. I can't control every beat cop under my command." Arthur's smile didn't reach his eyes. "A rogue officer? That's the narrative you're going with?" "Captain, do you think I walked into the Wellington tonight blind? I've known about Fisk's arrangement with your precinct for 6 months. I knew Higgins frequented that restaurant, acting as a taxpayer-funded bouncer for wealthy racists. We simply needed a definitive, undeniable civil rights violation, one your union lawyers couldn't bury in state court for 3 years." Gallagher's face drained further. "You baited him. You went there knowing he'd try to arrest you. I went there to celebrate 25 years of marriage with my wife," Arthur corrected, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "The fact that your officer chose to illegally assault, detain, and arrest me because of the color of my skin, that was entirely his choice. A choice enabled by the culture of impunity you built in this building." He tapped the dossier. "We didn't just pull servers tonight, Richard. Our cyber division has been mapping this precinct's finances for weeks. We know about the union slush fund. We know the $5,000 Fisk paid Higgins every month didn't stop with Higgins. 2,000 of it was kicked up to you, deposited offshore under your brother-in-law's name." Gallagher physically slumped, burying his face in trembling hands. "That makes it a criminal enterprise," Eleanor said from the corner, her voice like cracking ice, "which triggers the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. You're not facing a state review, Captain. You're facing 20 years for racketeering, extortion, and conspiracy. I can give you the mayor." Gallagher blurted, desperation overtaking loyalty. "Mayor Richard Clayton. He knew about the slush fund. He used our people for off-the-books security during his campaign. I have the emails. Give me immunity and I'll testify." Arthur glanced at Eleanor, who gave a nearly imperceptible nod. "We don't give immunity to men who sell out their badges," Arthur said coldly. "But if your information checks out, I'll ensure the prosecutor notes your cooperation at sentencing. You might get out before your 80th birthday." He stood and buttoned his jacket, the charcoal fabric slightly wrinkled from the scuffle at the restaurant, but he still looked every bit the master of the room. "Process him, Eleanor. Tell the tactical units to prep the transport vans. I want every corrupt officer in this building paraded out the front doors. Let the city see exactly what happens when the law breaks the law." The morning sun crept over the Boston skyline by 6 a.m., casting long gold shadows across the cracked steps of the 9th Precinct. The street, normally quiet, was impassable, flooded not only by federal vehicles, but by a sprawling sea of media vans. News crews jockeyed for the best angle of the barricaded doors. Word of a midnight federal raid had spread through the city's political circles overnight, but no one understood its true scale until those glass doors finally swung open. A gasp swept through the press corps, followed by the blinding flash of 100 cameras. Leading the procession was Special Agent Caldwell, flanked by a rigid line of tactical operators. Behind them, chained together at the wrists and ankles, walked the entire command staff of the 9th Precinct. Captain Gallagher, stripped of his uniform and forced into a standard federal jumpsuit, walked with his head hung in absolute shame, the man who had run his district like a warlord, now looking remarkably small. Behind him stumbled Sergeant Miller, pale and broken. And at the very end of the line, shivering in the crisp morning air, was Officer Thomas Higgins, the swaggering bully from the Wellington completely gone, weeping openly, his face streaked with tears. Beyond the barricades, a crowd of local residents had gathered, people who had suffered quietly under Higgins's policing for over a decade. Mothers whose sons had been falsely detained, business owners squeezed for protection money, citizens who had been casually brutalized and told to keep quiet about it. They did not shout, they did not throw anything. They simply watched in stunned, vindicated silence as their tormentor was dragged into the light of justice, some of them wiping quiet tears from their own eyes, tears that had nothing to do with sorrow. A young reporter pushed toward the barricade, shouting toward the line of federal agents. "Can you confirm the FBI director was personally arrested tonight? Is it true he was targeted because he's black?" No one answered her. The agents kept moving, calm, unbothered, professional. the transport vans swallowing one disgraced officer after another, Arthur did not walk out the front doors. He never wanted the spotlight, and he had no interest in giving the cameras a triumphant photograph to run on tomorrow's front page. Instead, he climbed the interior stairwell alone and stepped out onto the precinct rooftop, the cool morning breeze catching the edges of his suit jacket. From up there, the flashing lights and shouting reporters seemed small, distant, almost silent. He watched the transport buses load below, his expression unreadable, his mind already moving 3 steps ahead, toward the grand jury, toward the depositions, toward the long, grinding months of prosecution that would decide whether tonight meant anything at all. True justice, he knew from 2 decades in federal service, was never the arrest itself. The handcuffs, the raid, the flashing lights, all of it was theater compared to what came next. Real justice was the unyielding, patient wait of the judicial system that followed, quietly, methodically, refusing to let go. And that weight was only just beginning to fall. 8 months later, the federal courthouse in downtown Boston was packed to capacity. The trial had been a relentless media spectacle, a master class in federal prosecution that methodically tore the city's corrupt infrastructure down to its studs. Arthur's smartwatch had recorded crystal-clear audio of his unlawful arrest, backing itself up to a secure server the instant his heart rate spiked during the assault. Higgins's clumsy attempt to wipe the precinct's servers only added obstruction of justice to his list of felonies. But the true devastation came from the financial disclosures, the offshore accounts, the shell companies, the dirty money flowing straight from Fisk's empire into Gallagher's pockets. Judge Thomas O'Neill, a notoriously strict jurist with a well-documented hatred for dirty cops, looked down at the defendants with a gaze that could freeze boiling water. "The deprivation of rights under color of law," he said, voice booming through the silent room, "is a severe betrayal of public trust. You men were given a badge and the sacred authority to protect your community. Instead, you weaponized that trust to terrorize, extort, and brutalize those you deemed beneath you." He turned to Gregory Fisk, who now looked like a hollow ghost of his former self, 30 pounds lighter, his legal team long gone, his fortune seized down to the last dollar, his mansion and his imported cars now simply lines in a federal asset ledger. You believed your wealth placed you above the law. You funded a private syndicate of violence and coercion, treating sworn officers as your personal enforcers. For bribery, racketeering, and conspiracy to commit civil rights violations, I sentence you to 15 years in a maximum security federal penitentiary, with permanent forfeiture of all seized assets. Fisk let out a broken sob, collapsing into his chair as the gavel struck. The sound echoed through the room like a door slamming shut on the only life he had ever known. The judge turned to Thomas Higgins. "You weaponized your badge. You allowed racism and greed to guide your hand. You are a disgrace to the uniform you wore." Higgins trembled, his knuckles white against the defense table. "I sentence you to 12 years in federal prison, and you forfeit your pension in its entirety." As marshals moved in, chains clinking around the weeping former officer and the broken billionaire, Arthur rose quietly from the back of the gallery. He didn't smile, he didn't gloat. He simply buttoned his jacket and walked out. That evening, the sun was setting over the quiet, tree-lined streets of his neighborhood in Virginia, casting a warm gold light through the windows of his home. The weight of the past 8 months, the depositions, the reviews, the endless media scrutiny finally seemed to lift from his shoulders as he turned his key in the door. The house smelled of roasting garlic and fresh rosemary, the exact opposite of a cold courtroom. Sarah stepped out of the kitchen, wiping her hands on a linen apron, a warm, knowing smile spreading across her face. "I saw the news," she said softly. Arthur dropped his keys into the bowl by the door and let out a long, exhausted breath. He wrapped his arms around her, resting his chin gently on top of her head. "It's finally over," he murmured. "Gallagher, Higgins, Fisk, all of them are locked away. The precinct is under permanent federal monitorship." Sarah pulled back, looking up into his tired eyes. "You did a good thing, Arthur. A hard thing, but a good thing. You made the city safer." He kissed her forehead. "I had to. It's the job." but I believe we still have some important unfinished business." She raised an eyebrow. "Oh, and what exactly is that, Director Pendleton?" Arthur reached into his jacket and pulled out a small white envelope, embossed in gold, handing it to her. "The new owners of the Wellington called this morning. They wanted to offer a personal apology for the unfortunate interruption during our last visit. Their private rooftop room, tomorrow night, completely off the books, to finally celebrate our 25th anniversary in peace." Sarah laughed, a bright sound that chased away the last shadows of the trial. "Well, I suppose I can put up with you in a stiff suit one more night, as long as you promise to leave the handcuffs locked in your desk drawer this time." "You have my word," Arthur said, taking her hand. Out in the wider world, the gears of justice kept turning, grinding down the arrogant and the corrupt. The badge was heavy, and the fight for real justice was never truly finished. But for tonight, Arthur Pendleton was exactly where he belonged, safe, victorious, and finally at peace.